Hello, everybody, and a very warm welcome from Vienna to the whole WIRED Innovate community. I'm Gerhard Hirzi. I'm the Managing Director of the Vienna Business Agency, and I'm very, very glad and proud too that this year's conference is part of Vienna Up 21. Vienna Up 21 is the biggest startup and tech festival in Central and Eastern Europe, if not all over Europe in 2021. Actually, this conference should have taken place physically, should have taken place here in Vienna, and our hope was that we could meet and greet many of you here in our beautiful city. But COVID-19 trampled down and dashed our hopes. But COVID wasn't able to trample down our ambition and our willingness to meet with you in spite of that. And in order to share ideas, to share concepts, to share prospects, and to share our projects with you. Therefore, it's a big pleasure for me to open this afternoon's panel, since it gives us the opportunity to convey something of the specific flavor of Vienna's startup community to you. As many people worldwide believe and think, Vienna is only a city of art and culture and music and tradition and quality of living. But there is more than that. Vienna has become a very powerful business location within the last 2 decades. And this is one of our special ambitions as a Vienna Business Agency, to change that perception a little bit and to broaden the picture of today's Vienna. Today, I would like to highlight a special feature of Vienna's innovation policy and innovation strategy, and that is our specific emphasis on social responsibility, on inclusion, and on sustainability. As any other city, Vienna is eager to implement the most advanced technologies and in its city. And of course, Vienna is fostering innovative projects, is fostering R&D. But in our view, this technology has to be governed, and the technology has to be governed by people, has to serve the people in our city. In our perception, the city is not a big or gigantic chatbot steered by artificial intelligence, but an efficient and caring framework safeguarding the needs and the well-being of the society and the citizens of that city. And therefore, we will bring your attention to 3 Viennese startups who are perfectly and completely committed to these principles. And their business is a purpose-driven business. And if these businesses succeed, which I deeply hope, our world will once again become a little bit better and a little bit more livable. So, on behalf of Vienna, I wish you a fascinating journey this afternoon. All the best from Vienna, and stay negative.
Thank you, Gerhard. I'd now like to introduce our startup panelists. We've got Cornelia Habacher, who is the co-founder and COO of Rebel Meat, which creates more sustainable meat options using only natural and organic ingredients, with the aim to reduce meat consumption without compromising on taste and texture. Cornelia, welcome. Kilian Kaminski is one of the 3 co-founders of Refurbed, the fastest growing online marketplace for refurbished products across Austria, Germany, and Switzerland. Kilian, welcome.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hannah Muther is the community and quality manager of Sinbad, a young social business offering a one-on-one mentoring program for teenagers from vulnerable socioeconomic backgrounds. Hannah, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
So in this panel, we'd like to explore the startup journey and your experience of building a purpose-led brand and community. I was hoping you could each start by telling us a bit more about your company and how you're working towards a more sustainable and inclusive society. Cornelia, maybe we can start with you.
Yeah, I'm happy to. Thank you very much. So we founded Rebel Meat in 2019, and we are developing and selling hybrid meat products. And with this, we want to reduce meat consumption, and we use only organic and local ingredients for our products. And they're currently on the market Austria-wide. And of course, we also want to expand to other countries and just make reducing meat consumption easier for everyone.
Kilian, your company also has a sustainability angle to it. Can you tell us a bit more about Refurbed?
Sure. So Refurbed is an online marketplace for refurbished products. So kind of the same of reducing meat for Rebel Meat is the same for us with reducing electronic waste, especially because the big problem is nowadays a lot of products, of course, going to landfills after the life cycle. So our goal is to increase the life cycle and reuse these products. So we built a marketplace model where customers are able to buy products from professional refurbishers, which look like new and function like new. So they get a warranty, they can save money. At the same time, they're doing their part for reducing CO2 emissions and electronic waste. And we are active already in 12 countries across Europe. So our goal is, of course, to make refurbished products the new normal in the society.
And Hannah, your background is in sustainability, but actually what you're doing at Sinbad is a bit different. Can you tell us what your work there involves?
Yeah, Sindbad offers a one-to-one mentorship program where teenagers from a socioeconomic vulnerable background who are in their last year of compulsory school, so in Austria that would be 9th grade, are accompanied by a volunteer mentor. So there is a transition period, which means that the teenagers have to decide if they want to continue school or they want to do an apprenticeship. So, and by matching the mentor and the mentee, we connect living environments that probably would have never met in other settings. And so they both create understanding to each other. And this is how we also think how we can contribute towards a more inclusive society.
Thanks. So obviously the thing that links your three businesses is this idea of a purpose-driven, mission-driven startup. How do you go about building a mission-driven startup from day one? Cornelia, maybe we can start with you about how you built those values into the company from the very beginning.
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think it's very important when you find your co-founder or if you found yourself that you really think about what your mission is and write it down and be on the same page basically about it. Because if you don't know what the mission is, you will not be able to build a mission-driven company. I think that's very important. And for us, we have the specific rules that our first 10 employees especially will only be chosen if they're really 100% mission aligned. So if you have a great tech background and you're really good at what you're doing, but you're not 100% aligned with the company, we will not be able to hire you. So it's really important for us that our employees do not only want to work for us, but they really want to build this company with us.
Kilian, how about you at Refurbed? Was it a similar approach?
Yeah, I mean, in our case as well, like from the background of our founder team, one has a previous experience at McKinsey. I personally was at Amazon, so most likely not the most famous companies for purpose-driven mentalities. And we thought about like how much time we spent in our work, and that we wanted to spend our time on something which has a good purpose. So which is doing something good for the environment, and especially also in our ages. I mean, we are around 30, so I would still point us out as still young. So we also want to do our share for making the world a better place. And when we decided on doing that with refurbished products, the great advantage of this is that literally with every product sold, we're doing our part for making the world a bit better. So in our case, the business model is not in contradiction to the increase of revenue or increase of sales, because in our case, it means literally as more as we're selling, as better it is for the environment. And this is also a strong focus in our company, and where we also realize a lot of especially people from the newer generation, younger generations, they're now searching more for a company which has a purpose and where they can spend their time for doing something good than just for earning a lot of money. And of course, it's our big advantage that we can provide this work environment for these new people in the job market as well.
Thanks. Hannah, for you, obviously things are a bit different. So I'd like to flip the question around, because obviously yours is a social enterprise from the beginning. But what have you guys taken from maybe the startup world or from the business world that you're applying to your approach with Sinbad?
I guess I can just agree what everyone just said, because it's for us, it's basically the same. We asked ourselves, like, with who do we want to work and with who do we want to grow, with who we want to create this. And I guess also what was important, and I think that's not only in the social business, but also in the general business world, that the awareness to really know that it's a learning process. You can't start with the right thing right away. You always have to continuously reflect, am I on the right process? But I mean, it's a bit maybe more important for a social business to really be on this mission, because our mission is to create social value and to really, really stick to that. And I guess for us, of course, we can learn a lot from the business world, because we can have a business part as well as a social business. So we have to have this business part. But then our challenge is more like to create or maintain the balance between the social and the business part. So to avoid a mission drift, that's more our challenge, I would say.
Absolutely. I'm interested in getting your thoughts on why it's important to build that mission in from the start. Cornelia and Kilian, you could have done a more traditional business and then try to add in social responsibility afterwards. Why is it important that you bake this stuff in right from the beginning?
I mean, if I start, sorry, Cornelia, then please feel free, and we keep with the order.
Okay, sorry, no, I think we have a little bit of a lag. I think it's very complicated to add something later on, and maybe if I can use my scientific background as a comparison, basically when you have like a seed, like an apple seed, it will grow into an apple tree, and it knows already what to do in the very beginning, and it will always have this outcome. But if you take a sunflower seed, you cannot make it into an apple tree, or it's very hard to do so. So I think it's important that everything, I think that's why people also call it like the DNA of the company, is very well defined in the beginning, so it can grow from there. And I think especially in mission-driven companies, we always want to do everything perfectly. And we know that in the end, we have to make some things maybe not 100% perfect, or a little bit worse. So I think it's better to start with the perfect way to do it, and then maybe adapt a little bit along the way instead of doing it the other way around.
Absolutely. Kilian, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, totally agreeing on these points, even if I don't have this scientific background. But in general, for us, it's a really important factor that it's also a base of trust, right? Because what we see nowadays a lot of, especially on big corporates, is that how they're starting now to realizing, sustainability is important, or social impact business are important, and try to create like kind of their CSR project around their normally core values of the company. And this often honestly speaking, is not really trustworthy, because it's not at the core of the businesses. And I think the great advantage of all our companies here today as well is that we were able to start from this perspective of building a company which fulfills a purpose, which is mission driven, and then building out of that maybe a company which also is on economic factors successful, but has always this purpose and mission driven at the heart of the whole company DNA.
Cornelia, I wanted to get into some of the challenges that you faced in setting up Rebel Meat. Can you tell us a bit more about the technical challenges that you faced when trying to find this right hybrid approach?
Yeah, of course. So my co-founder Philip and me, we do not have a food background. So we started very simple in the kitchen, just mixing things together, basically, like traditional meat substitutes like soy extracts with meat. We realized it doesn't really stick together. It's falling apart in the pan. It doesn't really taste very good. So we had to find just experts in the meat industry to help us develop this product. And really, there was a lot of trial and error. And we also work together with our producer right now whenever we make a new product. So having a delicious product in the kitchen does not mean that it will be also delicious in the shelf, because there's a lot of different steps in between, and especially the upscaling is very complicated. When you go from a 100-gram burger in the kitchen to really like 100 kilos of mass that you want to put into burgers, balancing like the flavors and the textures, this was actually one of the most complicated things in the beginning. And then afterwards, the logistics and building up the logistics, starting with small amounts of burgers, like really, I don't know, like 100 burgers, and bringing them to a restaurant with your own car. From then going into a logistics company or using a logistics company, this step that you have enough to sell, basically, to then really be able to serve Austria. And then at the same time, Austria wants to have the burgers, but it's like a balance. Like you have to scale up in the right speed to be able to really serve the customers. So this is still a struggle that we're still a challenge that we're struggling with, but we're getting better.
Definitely. I'm interested in how you see the long-term future of this technology looking. Obviously, I guess in the future we're going to be shifting to a largely plant-based society. So does this hybrid technology act as a bridging technology, or is this a long-term thing that we're going to be doing for a long time, these kind of half meat, half plant burgers?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. And I really hope that you're right, that we're all shifting towards a plant-based society. And if this is true, in the end, we probably don't need hybrids anymore. But if it's not true, and as long as I think people will eat meat, it's the better approach to just blend it together. So we basically have two approaches here. First of all, we always want to make the most sustainable meat product on the market. And right now, that means using organic meat, using local plant-based ingredients and blending them together 50-50 to always provide 100% really meat taste. And then the other approach that we have is we want to reduce the meat, the amount of animal-based product that we're using, and then switch to actually clean meat or cultured meat, so meat that is grown in the lab. So we can bring or pave the way for these clean meat products to then switch to a totally slaughter-free society in the future, hopefully.
Absolutely. Hannah, I wanted to bring you in. Obviously, your background is in sustainability, as I mentioned earlier. Do you see any parallels between that work and the work that you're doing now with Sinbad, which is more of a social responsibility angle to it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, sustainability contains of three columns, so the ecological, the economic, and the social. And I think to create value for society, all three are crucial, and sustainability is never one-dimensional. So it's always extremely important to have a look at all of them. And then when I asked myself after my studies what I wanted to do, I just realized that I wanted to work with people, and I wanted to provide or support people that they all have equal opportunities. So for me, this was just like a logical step to work in social sustainability. And maybe from a more personal note, I grew up in a very rural area in Austria on a small farm. So it's a very protected and safe space, I would say. And then once I grew older, obviously I realized, the world doesn't look like that for everyone, and it doesn't look like that everywhere. So this was kind of my starting point, where I realized like my future lies in sustainability. And also when I think about like in what kind of society or world I want to live in the future, I just realized that either social or ecological sustainability, everything is important for a better future.
On that kind of social responsibility aspect, why is mentoring so important? What are the powerful things that mentoring can do?
Yeah, especially for Sindbad, what we do, or what is so important, is like this reciprocal learning. So we're bringing together two people who would have never met probably otherwise. And we have like this, we create this understanding. So we have on one side maybe the mentor who has the social capital and everything that he or she can provide for the mentee or the teenager. And then on the other side, the mentee gives the mentor the opportunity to see the world through a different perspective, through a different lens. And then as well, our mentees, our teenagers, they very often come as well from migration background. They come from socioeconomic vulnerable backgrounds. And often it's the case that they don't have anyone on their side or somebody who really believes in them. And it's so important for these people in puberty, in a development phase, that they have someone who believes in them and tells them, hey, of course you can pursue your dreams and I believe in you. And I think that's just so important. And I think that's just like a few aspects why mentoring is so important.
I definitely agree. It's definitely something that we need to see more of, and I think the work that you're doing there is so great. Kilian, I wanted to talk to you about refurbed and particularly the right to repair. So is your work at refurbed partly an education piece about teaching consumers that actually refurbished products can be as good as new ones and that they're much better for the environment?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think one really important factor is that the majority of people in the society, they know new products and they know used products, but they don't really are aware of this new category of refurbished products in between, which combines the benefits of new products and used products. Like it's functional and looks like a new product, but at the same time you're saving money and it's more sustainable, like a new product, like a used product, right? So it's all about educating the people, creating awareness, and also allowing them the opportunity of trying it out, learn that it literally works, because it's often like a case customers asking us, like if you can save money with it, that you get a warranty and it's sustainable, why not everyone is buying it, right? And therefore I think it's really important to give the customers the chance of trying it out. And then if they like it, they automatically will also tell it their friends and family. And this is also, in our case, our strongest customer group that are referrals. So literally people which are just referring us further. And of course, in this regard, it also means that the customers are aware that they want to consume more sustainable also in electronics, which results in the case that we have to build products more in a way that they can be refurbished, that they can be reused and repaired. And when we're looking on the development of the manufacturers around the world, they design the devices on a hardware side, but also on the software side, more in the direction that you have to switch them after a specific point of time, even if you just would switch one component, it would perfectly work again, but they created on a design base that is not working. And this is something which, of course, through the right to repair, which is really strongly promoted right now in the European Union, it's an important factor that we have to do it to kind of force the manufacturers to build the devices on a more circular and reusable base.
Do you think that we need legislation to enforce the right to repair, or do you think that by making refurbished products more viable as a consumer option, the market will force them to act?
I think like the biggest problem which I still see is that people always they don't want to compromise, right? So there are, for example, new devices in the market, like let's say a Fairphone or a Shift phone, which enables you to have a modular model, which you can just exchange one device yourself. You don't have to go to a repair shop or something. Literally everyone can do it. But for example, these products are maybe not as good on the software side, or that they're not as cool as other products, which means that customers are often asking, like, I literally want to buy something sustainable, but I don't want to have a Fairphone or a Shift phone. I want to have a sustainable iPhone, let's say. And this is exactly where we're touching it, right? We are offering these sustainable branded products, but overall legislation will require manufacturers to enforce them to act faster, because at least my experience is that a lot of these manufacturers, they have in their drawers, they have literally already plans for a more sustainable product, but they're just saying, as long as we're not legally required to do it, why we should reduce our revenue and profits by producing them.
Absolutely. I've got a few questions for everyone. Maybe Cornelia, you can start with this one. You talked about kind of selling burgers, or moving burgers around in the back of a car 100 at a time. How can you maintain that socially and environmentally conscious approach as you grow and as you scale?
Yeah, I think this approach in the beginning was not very sustainable, because 100 burgers, of course, in the end emit more CO2 than just packing like thousands of burgers on one truck. I think it's just important just to write some ground rules down and really try to adhere them, and also just spread them across your team. For example, we have some rules concerning developing the products, what the ingredients should be, what the different aspects of the ingredients should be. Like, they should be sourced, if possible, organically in Austria. If it's not possible in Austria, then maybe Germany or neighboring countries. And they should be from companies that are also socially acceptable. They have socially acceptable working standards. And we have all these ground rules, basically. And I think it's just important to always remind people of those. And if you onboard new people, just always explain them why we do things and why we do them the way we do them. And I think like this, it will just create a positive feedback loop, and people will come up with new ideas to even do it better. For example, reducing food waste is a very big issue for us right now, because we have a lot of retail stores that we have to provide with fresh meat, but then it's hard to really know how much you have to produce and how much they will buy. So we try to also work with companies like Too Good To Go if we have to produce too much, or just give it away. And I think at every stage of the company there will be a new challenge, and you will just have to have the initial motivation to really overcome these challenges, and just do it in a team also. Like if you don't know how to do, just ask everyone. We have like installed a Crazy Friday, for example, where for 1 hour we just talk about crazy ideas or problems that we have and find creative solutions for them. I think it's very important to just live that solution driven approach also.
Absolutely. We've just got enough time for a few questions from our viewers. If you have any questions for the later sessions, of course, please do keep sending them in. Kilian, do you see a shift towards more purpose-driven businesses in the scene? Do you think that these ventures are getting more stage time at the moment?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, especially also on the sustainable side, because I mean, let's say during the last year, of course, with Corona, the focus on climate change and sustainability, which of course Fridays for Future massively increased in the society, was reduced a bit. But overall, I think people are much more aware now that they have to do something, and that we have to build up businesses which create a mixture from have a purpose, but at the same time, of course, also be successful, right, on the economic factor. Because if we have only like really small startups which are successful in their business and are sustainable, then the overall impact will be relatively low, right? So the goal has to be that, in theory base, all of the businesses have a combination between a purpose, could be sustainability or social, and being profitable and being big and growing, because then the overall impact on the society and on the environment will be, of course, increasing massively.
Hannah, maybe I can give this last question to you. It sounds like the startup community in Vienna is very tight-knit, but there's some competition. What's your advice on being friendly and supportive of other startups, other enterprises, while remaining focused on your own success?
I guess everyone still can learn from each other, and I still think, since we're already in a sustainability field, I think one of our core values is that we treat each other with respect, and I think that's an important part when you are in a mission-driven company. So, and I still treating each other with respect and learning from each other is still crucial in this part. That's my point of view. I don't know how the others would see that.
Thanks so much. We're just about out of time, I'm afraid. But thank you so much for joining us, everyone. Cornelia, Kilian, Hannah, thank you again for your time.